What's going on, guys? It's Z Vomps, and I hope you guys are having an absolutely blessed day. I'm kind of hopping on this podcast right now with, in all honesty, very little direction. I figured I would probably talk about life and some of the crazy things that go on and kind of how I think and stuff that kind of goes on in my life. And it's currently 9:30 p.m. That's Eastern time in Florida. And yeah, I don't know. I was sitting down after an interview with a real estate company, and I was watching some TikToks, and I kind of got well overwhelmed with the kind of takeover of not wanting to do anything and just being downright exhausted. And so I lay down in bed for about an hour and a half and endlessly scrolled on my phone until I decided to get up and knock that knock that off. That's not a good feeling. So I went to the bathroom and I came back and I was like, shoot, I'll start a podcast. So we're here. And yeah, it's a great feeling. I love doing this type of stuff. But again, we got really no direction. But there are a couple things I want to say, and a couple things I wanted to point out from a young person's perspective. And that is how abnormally tiring things seem to be at points. And what I mean by that is, for me personally, it's not about how much sleep I get or, what time I go to sleep. It's that I'm always exhausted. And it's kind of a struggle to push through that every single day and to, motivate myself to do things and without relying on external forces to internally motivate me. And I see a lot of kids my age, kind of taking that disparity in motivation and finding that time that they should be spending or whatever want to be spending educating themselves or pursuing a career in drugs. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's sad, because some people live very happy lives doing that. And I'm not here to crap on that type of lifestyle. It's weird for me to be exhausted every day and just continue pushing on. And I know other people feel like that. And I know that people feel different emotions such as love, hate, stress, anxiety, depression. And it's crazy to me because with my experience, I'm always experiencing something completely opposite to somebody else. So, for instance, my best friend Jamie has found a girl that he, really likes and is putting a lot of time into, which is awesome. On the other hand, I've just broken up with my girlfriend. So the feelings of these two people living, although they're so interconnected and trust each other and appreciate and love each other so much, meaning myself and my best friend Jamie, they're yet experiencing two different, completely opposite emotions while simultaneously appreciating one another. And for me, it's like, well, how does that tie into being exhausted? Well, it's like, well, we have emotions every single day, right? And some think it's a choice to be happy or sad. Others think that it's kind of just inevitable, and your feelings are, in direct comparison to your actions and whatnot. And for me, the reason why some things may be very exhausting, is because there's so much to deal with at a given time. Like, for instance, today, I was listening to Grant Cardone talk, and he was telling me how, or yeah, I believe it was Grant Cardone, and he was telling me how there's people who run things, there's people who work 9 to 5, there's people who work 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, and it's the 80 an hour a week people who run things, who are really those 1% of people, right? Generally speaking. However, those people, they sacrifice family, they sacrifice free time, they sacrifice their kids, sports, hobbies, all that stuff because they want to work and run things, quote unquote. And to me, it's like, well, I can be hyper successful, work 80 hours a week, which I have done before, have an insane amount of wealth, while simultaneously lacking necessary emotions such as an intimate relationship or family or, a variety of different things. However, if you don't put in minimal effort or medium level effort, you're left with the constant struggle of money. Generally speaking, of course. And you're also experiencing life in itself and love and hate, like I've mentioned before. And how the meeting of one person can change what you want in life so bad. Like, for instance, if you want to be that 80 an hour a week person and you meet someone and you want to just spend the rest of your life with them and do nothing but hang out with them, well, then you're not as inclined to work 80 hours a week or work any hours a week. You want to be with them and live life, which kind of ties into the hippie lifestyle if you think about it, because you can't live a glamorous lifestyle not working, generally speaking. So as a teenager, being 17 years old, thinking about these things, currently pursuing a variety of different licenses or, course of actions in life, I tend to ponder about what I really want, about how much money means to me, or I just should say wealth, because it's not necessarily the, United States dollar or something like that. It's more of just building assets and being wealthy, being a wealthy person. Is that, if I have to sacrifice 80 hours a week for, let's say, 20 years of my life, is that worth having the struggle of lacking emotions in different aspects of my life? Some people say no, some people say yes. It really depends on the person. But that doesn't matter because it's my life. And whoever's listening to this, it's your life. And how do we know it's the right path that we really want to take until we start taking action? So, I've decided to take action in what I want to do, and what I want to do is be wealthy. I want to live a happy life where I work 5-10 years hard, working 78 hours a week, while also having a good work-life flow. And that would mean that some of my life would overlap with work, which is amazing. And then being able to live off of somewhat, dividential or, supplemental income. That's what I want as a 17-year-old. And I'm currently working towards that very hard, actually. But when I'm 80, kind of like a tattoo, how am I going to know if I like it when I'm 80? But society's made it so that we're kind of stuck with that choice. But we're not really, though. We are. Yeah, right? You get a 4-year degree, $100,000 in debt, blah, 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 blah. That seems like a rest of a life type thing. But not really. But it is. But no, it's not. And it's weird because, yes, it is. Because you spend all this money and time and it seems like it's too hard to go back. But at the same time, you can go back to school. You can do all that stuff. As long as you have the necessary resources. And it's a huge battle of, outweighing pros and cons and if you can even actually pull it off. And the real question is can you pull it off? But we won't really know unless we try. So anyway, being exhausted emotionally. Yeah. That's been the emotion recently. And I don't mean that in a bad connotation. I just simply mean it as it is. That a lot of people my age and maybe even older, younger, whoever, feel that way. And I just hope that, we can meet or talk about this type of stuff, because what I'm thinking right now is very hard to articulate into words. And I'm trying my best to, now in this 10-minute time frame, portray that. And I know so many young people that have just different perspectives of life. Like, for instance, I have a buddy who smokes weed every day and works 2 jobs and also attends high school full time, while also hanging out with friends constantly. Now, you might wonder how he does that. Well, the explanation is are all of those things that he's doing at 100% capacity? Maybe to him they are, maybe to someone else they're not. It's really about interpretation. If you consider bad grades and a decent pay with 2 jobs and good friends, great, then yeah, you're on the right track. I have another buddy who works at the same job all the time, does nothing else except for hang out with friends, party on weekends or days off, and kind of floats around. On the outside seems great, but on the inside it hurts. But the question is why? Is it because you don't seem to have a very big purpose, a purpose that outstands people around you, a purpose that outstands yourself, your soul, your spirit? Or is it simply because you have a dream that is unfulfilled and not even being looked at anymore? Why is it? Why'd you give up on that dream? There's so many questions that one person has. I know that I can come up with a million questions based on life in just one single day. Maybe that's just how my brain operates compared to someone else's. You don't know. You really don't. So how do these people feel? Do they feel exhausted? Are they depressed? Are they shaking from anxiety? Are they in college? Are they mothers? Are they dads? Are they transgender? Non-gender fluid? Like, there's so many things that go on in today's society, and most people are only focusing on one part of life. And so back to me being exhausted, I found that it's allowed me to appreciate certain things more. Because again, exhausted is not necessarily a negative thing. Because when I go to the gym and I feel exhausted, I feel great. You know what I mean? That kind of. So I've been able to look up at the sun every once in a while and see just what a beautiful entity it is. Just there. Knowing that, well, you've probably heard this before, but us just floating on this rock and existing, and in science it's described as winning the lottery to even be here. And you can get into the deep philosophical things of, well, God, is it a matrix, is it a simulation, all those different conspiracies or religious views, and we're not here to talk about that though. But what's made me really appreciate life actually is experiencing the negative emotions. It's going through life realizing that you no longer have somebody that you so for cared. And that allows you to appreciate the people around you more. And I don't know. I think about these things late at night, not because I'm sad or happy necessarily, but just because these questions arrive. They're it's not that they're unwanted or wanted. They're just there. And so I hope somebody out there kind of gets this message one day and starts thinking to themselves about what they really want and what they really care for. How is it that they go about their lives? Like, do they want to be a maintenance person the rest of their life? Do they want to be a doctor? Do they want to build cars? How are you going to build cars for a living and make money off of that? Or make wealth off of that? Are you going to go into a trade? What is your soul or your mind's desire to do? Are you going to eat fruit snacks for the rest of your life, man? Like, come on. And then it's funny because then we have this whole realm of people that complain every single day about not having what they want, or being a person who has a victim mentality, as they like to say, who was born as from a drug addict mother or father and were abused, and they give all excuses, which frankly are valid, right? Very valid excuses. I don't mean that by any means, but they actually choose to not go over after anything that they want because of past experiences. So if those past experiences overlay into your current life so heavily and mentally that you can no longer live as the dream seeker you once were, then I guess what is the point? right? Like it's this, philosophy that, well, it's not actually being happy, it's the pursuit of happiness, because once you get happiness, one, most people don't know what that looks like, and two, what do you even do? You're not really doing anything, you got it, right? It's kind of like instant gratification. Well, it's like, I really want this thing so bad. Oh, now I haven't. Oh, well, that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. What's on to the next thing, right? You so badly want this trophy until you have it, because then there's a next one that's even better, right? So the constant whatever that word is, you get it, being unsatisfied. And if you're never satisfied, but you're always working or striving to achieve newer and better goals, is that life? Is that, is that what you're striving for? These are just questions that I think to myself constantly. Like, for instance, I go and spend a day at the beach. This is just what I think about when I go to do fun things. I go spend a day at the beach, right? And at that beach, I'm enjoying myself, having a great time, spending time with family, playing the sand, swimming in the ocean. I saw a dolphin. Oh, I saw a shark. I caught a crab, right? Great, amazing day. But then we have to go back to reality the very next day and do something that we may or may not even like doing. If you do like doing it, that's great. But what's the point of going to the beach if you like that? Why wouldn't you just, if you like working, why wouldn't you just work instead of going to the beach? And, there's psychological things that, pull into this type of thing. Well, you need that social interaction. Well, it's like, okay, well, I can get social interactions at work. So what type of social interaction is it? And so you start to think, it's like, okay, well, that day at the beach could have been used more efficiently or more effectively so that I could have more days at the beach in the future. But if the future isn't promised and I die tomorrow, as some people say, was it really worth it? Right? So you start to think, it's like, well, is working even worth it? Like, I'm going to spend time building all this wealth, meeting people who I may or may not hate, build these relationships. And it's like, at the end of the day, for me, yeah, like, that's worth it, the journey of life, right? And I love that. It's like, well, I'm going to meet somebody who designs blankets, makes keychains, sells online courses, and all these people are going to have a different set of passions, ideas, philosophies, religions. Like, yeah, that's cool. I'm down with it, you know? Or I might meet a rapper one day and I might just say, screw everything I'm doing right now, I'm going to go be a rapper. It may sound unrealistic, but people have done it before. Dropped out of college, dropped out of high school, still became millionaires, which isn't the definition of success in my eyes, but in other people's eyes, they made it, So I don't know. What's the definition of success in your mind, and what are you working for? What are you living for? What are you breathing for? Why do you do the things you do? But anyway, we're almost at 20-minute mark, and I'm going to hop off and finish up the rest of my work for the night. I hope whoever's listening to this has a beautiful night and lives a beautiful life. And if I don't catch you again, well, I hope to see you. And if not, thanks for listening. Have a great night.